This is how I have to access the spot that I hunt on the private land. This water is exceptionally high right now because it rained all yesterday. We had high winds and a bunch of leaves came down. So it's plugging up the creek. It normally runs through here. And it is really, really flooded. But this is what you gotta do if you want to get the big ones. You know what? I'm gonna cross over here. Alright, here's a quick little setup for this next segment you're about to see, because there's no talking in it. What I did today was I went directly into the bedding area at Land of the Giants. It rained all day yesterday. Everything was soaking wet. It was really, really quiet walking. There was a bunch of dripping coming off the trees with a little bit of wind covering my approach. So what happened is, in the springtime, I went in and marked a bunch of beds, what I thought were buck beds, on Onyx on my phone. And I went in there today, crept up on each one of them, glassed them with my binoculars to see if there was any bucks bedded in them. The last bed that I came up on, there was a deer bedded in there. It had its back facing me. It was set up for the thermal rise in the morning, so it was looking downhill with its back to me. I was coming from in back of it. As I was approaching it, it took me about a half an hour to really get in there good. The wind started to pick up a little bit and was coming from my left side to my right side. It was a very light wind, but it was pushing scent. The buck was not in a good position anymore for that crosswind. So what I suspected happened was he stood up to go to one of the other beds that I had previously checked and set up there. Set up for a decent wind for himself, because the bucks will always bed with the wind to their back generally. This buck was bedded for thermal rise in the morning, just the way it worked out. And I crept to within, oh God, I'd say 20 feet of this buck in his bed as he was bedded in there. I crawled the last 8 to 10 feet. There's a big stump that was left from when they had logged this property however many years ago. And I put that stump in between myself and the buck as I was approaching, crawling. When I got up to the stump, I set my bow up on top real slow, and I got up over the stump to look. As I was doing that, he stood up. I said, that's it, I busted him. He stood up, and you'll see in the video, I point where he was. I'll point and I'll raise my finger, that's when he stands up, and then I'll track with my pointer finger, and that's the exact path he took, and he walked within 5 to 7 feet of me. crazy. It was a nice 7-point. Had pretty good mass. I wish I could have got him on camera, but guys, I didn't have time. He was right on top of me. I couldn't move. I was frozen. I could hear the thing breathing, checking the wind. I can hear him inhaling. It was crazy. It was crazy. But yeah, check the clip out and see what you think. I am slowly approaching waist deep water. You can see there's a dam right there. There's a bunch of thick stuff growing, and all the leaves have dammed up the creek, and it's flooded. Ooh, there's a little hole right there. That's where I just came from. And that's where I'm going. I'm telling you. It's a pair of Cabela's waders, chest waders, because hip waders, I would have flooded today. And yeah. The other guys that hunt this property, they don't like to get back there because that's what you gotta cross. That's where I shot that big 6-point buck last year. And that's where I missed the giant, I'll call him a 12-point. But he had some funky stuff going on, so he's probably more than that. Alright guys, moving on. Alright, so that wraps up the video. I didn't take much video today. It was really, really wet. I didn't bring my main camera. I filmed everything with my phone. I got to get some kind of like a GoPro or something to wear, like a chest mount or a head rig or something like that, just so I can get some more video. Because I didn't want to keep taking my phone out and messing with that. I kind of had to keep my wits about me. Like I said, I was in the middle of the bedding area. I know a lot of guys will think I'm crazy for doing that, but hey man, that's just what I did. I decided I'm sick of waiting on the edge for these bucks to come out, and I was gonna go in and get them. The wind was right today, the conditions were right. Everything's wet, we're gonna get some more rain, so it's gonna wash my scent out, hopefully before too many of those deer realize I was in there. But hey, it is what it is. I don't like to give those deer a free pass, so it almost worked out for me today. I was actually probably too damn close to that deer, that buck. But it was so thick in there. Even if I held back a little bit and waited for him to make a move, I wouldn't have been able to get a shot at him. He was underneath a beech tree, a small beech tree. It was probably 15-20 foot beech tree. Still had all its leaves on, and that's what he was bedded underneath, probably because of all the rain. Great spot for him. And yeah, it was a wet day. The creeks were all flooded. There was a third creek that popped up in the middle of there. There's normally only two, but there was so much water, and all the leaves, they had clogged up the creeks, and they flooded, backed up. That whole swamp was flooded. So there was pretty much no deer in the swamp. They were all on the hillside or on neighboring properties or wherever they were. But yeah, that one decent buck was in there. Nice tall 7-point. Definitely would have shot him if I could have. If I had known he was going to stand up, I could have probably got an arrow knocked and drawn the bow behind the stump. And when he came around, I mean, it was point blank. I probably could have taken an arrow off and just stabbed him with it. He was so damn close. Probably one of the closest I've ever been to a deer. Yeah, closest I've ever been to a deer without him knowing I was there, especially. I've almost walked on top of them walking in the morning time when it's still dark and they're bedded, and I've almost walked right on top of them and they jump up, scare the crap out of you. But that buck was aware. He had no clue I was there. That was, talk about a confidence booster. That was cool. That was really, really cool. But all right, guys. Yep, I still got a bunch of raw footage I have to edit down and put into videos for you. I know I've been slacking. That's why I've been kind of trying to make these short little videos on my phone and stuff, just to keep my channel going, you know, and let people know how I'm doing in the woods. But all right, guys, I will talk to you soon. Have a good one.